Alright, Apophis here with another Elden Ring build video. This week it will be on using the light Greatsword, and it's going to be on a partial quality build. And why did we start investing into strength? Well, originally the build was supposed to use a blood version of this weapon, but I later decided that the upfront damage of quality would outweigh the benefit of having bleed. So to go over the talismans, we have two setups. One is using two-handed sword talisman and millicents for the stats, and also the consistency of two-handed sword talisman for all of your normal attacks and jumping attacks. The second setup is using millicents and rotten wing, and this will allow you to get a maximum of roughly 24% more damage when it procs, which will proc after any two R2 attacks, which are two parts. That's 4 hits. As you can see here, there are two stat spreads, one for true max damage on a full quality build, and then the other being the dex variant that I've come up with. And why we continue to have a high amount of dex is that we actually have more options, such as a lightning-infused Banished Knight's Halberd, or Rakshasa's Great Katana. So first, let's go over the weaknesses of the weapon. As you can see, it's not particularly fast. The two-handed R1, according to the Frame Data Explorer, is 15 frames, but honestly, the actual attack part of the animation seems, well, much later than the start. So given that we know that, it also has another weakness. It doesn't have any armor on any of its attacks. So the best you're gonna get is Sword Dance. And in a situation where you have no way to isolate an enemy, Sword Dance can often be aim punch, or just not connect fully. So your only method of armor may not work for you. And then third, it's pretty difficult to actually catch an opponent who's on low health. Your best running attack is 19 frames. You're going to need another weapon, and that's why I've paired it with Backhand Blades for the rest of the video. Sword Dance serves two purposes. It's both an armor move and also a roll catch. Let's get into the arena clips. The two-handed running R1 is 19 frames, and the two-handed running R2 is 20 frames. You might as well use the two-handed R2 because it has a much wider range, and it just covers more angles, and does more damage. So your two-handed jumping attacks are the same speed, but the R2 has 2 hits and just does more damage. A bunch of whiffs there, and nice hitbox, Miyazaki. And we close it out with a jumping R2. So in this battle, this guy had started with like blood flies and a bunch of other crap that just didn't hit me. So this weapon is very normal attack heavy, so your opponent has a pretty good chance of parrying you. It's a good thing that the jumping R2 is so strong. You're going to use it anyway, but you're going to especially use it if you see that parry shield. Wait for him to buff. Looks like he's some sort of faith hybrid. So we've already clipped off a lot of HP, and one reason why I'm using like the drawstring greases and exalted flesh so freely is because now in 1.13 your consumables are not actually consumed in the arena, meaning that we can use exalted flesh every battle. And I believe that's a 20% attack increase for 1 minute, versus the boiled crab being a 10% defense increase for 1 minute. That's when I realized that after jumping R2 or standing R2, if you hit R1, you'll go into two-hand R1 2, which has a very smooth animation transition. Hence the title of the video, Will It Blend? This fight was was a little embarrassing. I think it was just only having 101 poise versus having 115. So, one of the other issues with the weapon is that these long two-part attacks, you're only going to get half the damage if you get the first hit in, and you can be stunned out of them pretty easily if someone's past your poise breakpoint. And also, it doesn't have a good way to deal with ranged attacks either. I was kind of surprised this person brought a shield to the arena that wasn't a great shield, so let's see what happens. Nope, no guard counters. It's just kind of a bad move. Glenfiddich. Isn't that one of those low-tier scotches? So there we hit him with the follow-up R1-2 after the jump R2, then caught him with a quick sword dance. And it just works. This was a pretty funny fight. I wasn't so sure about winning this one at this point. I don't know why I hit a second stand R2 there. That wouldn't have done me any good, but we jump over the attack, get the roll catch with sword dance, and now we're pretty much on even footing. Sad. So I take out my backhand blade, but as you can see there, we share the same brain cell, but it just happens to work out a little better in my favor. Alright, so now onto the invasion part of the video. This first one is in the sunken chapel in the church district of Blackkeep. Looks like one caster, no, two casters. It's kind of funny that Madness is actually under the Faith School instead of being like an arcane spell suite. I think that arcane is just a majorly underused stat in general, but there we go. One phantom down. So yeah, let's put this guy in the blender. And doing running R1 there probably wasn't the right move, but he was panic rolling backward into a wall anyway. So it's fine. I will say invading at 150 was starting to make me lose my sense of sportsmanship entirely. Like now when I see 3 people, I'm just gonna go for the host immediately. The damage and, I guess, amount of statuses in this game are pretty nuts. So, generally, unless you could isolate that phantom right away, it's not worth it. At least not 3v1. And here's another one. So we're going after the mage first, because those are always the most annoying players. Then there's another guy spamming impenetrable thorns. And then this guy is using rivers of blood. I think I hate all of them. So not only does this guy have thorns, he also has Bloodhound Step. I love it. But yeah, let's speed this up here. So basically they chase me around for like a whole minute or so. That's a lot of bleed. But finally I give up and just say, you know what, let's use the backhand blades. They're way faster to approach. And Blind Spot lets you basically counter most things. I think I made a poor decision there using it as an approach, but whatever. The standing R1 does pretty bad poise damage. I should have done crouch R1 instead. Could have taken the riposte there, but he decides to mash anyway, and Sword Dance finishes the fight. Latency moment, but yeah, I tried out Flaming Strike. It's pretty good if they actually roll into it. Let's see another example. Knocked them out of the Milady attack. And so that wasn't actually a counter hit there, but in some situations where you catch them in their roll, you'll get the counter hit and then be able to finish the move. Oh my god, Mom, pull the plug! Hadn't seen one of those in a while. So, to force myself to use Backhand Blades more, I basically just removed everything but the Backhand Blades. So, let's see what happens. Now I encounter what I assume to be two PvE Johnnies here. So, Swift Slash, kind of interesting attack. They definitely nerfed the range a lot. I think it's a good thing. That attack should not be as good as it was. It was pretty disgusting. But yeah, the running R2 on Backhand Blades seems to be Pierce type because it's just a counter hit damage. You jump over that and still get clipped. Nice. So one thought was basically free aiming Swift Slash. That would probably allow me to get a little more use out of it. Because then you're not just locked into trying to chase somebody down with it. You kind of use it to evade some stuff and also do damage at the same time. But yeah, the running R2 is actually a pretty strong move. Unlike other dual weapon moves, it seems to actually do most of its damage, even if you only hit with one. And crouch R1 to close that out. Disgusting. And so realistically, in a lot of those fights where they're on low health, I could have just swapped to the Backhand Blades to finish them. The running R1 is pretty good for pursuing a target rolling backwards, and the running R2 is your approach move. And the crouch R1 can be used after you actually get a hit confirmed. Because if they roll wrong, you could just loop them with the crouch attack. So I actually think I prefer two-handing the Backhand Blade to doing the pseudo power stance by having both and being able to immediately use a skill or do crouch L1 or run L1 because you're missing out on the strong running hard attack. Yeah, it's just the speed of the Backhand Blade working in my favor. But wait, there's more. Oh my god. Don't make me say the line. Persona! Jesus. Anyway. So, a few important differences on this version versus the previous versions. I'm hitting 111 poise to tank through most two-handed light weapons. We also have a lot more physical defense. You're looking at over 35% physical defense overall with much better resistance to slash and pierce. And the stat spread is simply putting 50 points into strength and 50 points into dex, and we're letting Millicent's and the Divine Beast Head give us a lot of free stats. That's 13 free dex. I'm using Holy Quick Grease here. I probably could have picked a better one, but it's just what I had on hand. I could have just weapon swapped there. There was no need to do that, but it's fine, worked out. And one last duel. Holy shit, I think he just gave up. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something or were entertained by the clips. Light Greatsword actually is a little better than I thought it was initially, especially with the poise damage buff in 1.13. You will probably have to use a quality build to get the most value out of it. I think it's actually a good thing to give quality some options that are meaningful. It was pretty fun. I did enjoy the animation cancel from R2 to R1. That's probably the best part of the weapon. The startups are pretty painful. It definitely needs a backup weapon option, whether it's Backhand Blades, dagger, or even a halberd, just something that could cover its weaknesses, and then also provide, I guess, the chase down that's missing. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.